Well, practice has always been a problem for conductors, mainly because a conductor doesn't have an orchestra. So this is a big problem. But first of all, I would like to say that as many conducting courses do, rehearsing with a piano player, or let's say two piano players, which is a better situation because you have more than one person and they have to go together. It's a good thing, but in my personal opinion, is a good thing for, let's say, beginners, or just to understand how you can move. So basically for the first part of your training, right? But when the physical thing is right, the piano itself cannot be enough to practice, and the reasons are multiple. A piano, when you push the key, is a percussion instrument basically. So you get the sound and the sound decays. It cannot increase the intensity as a violin or a flute or whatever orchestral instrument basically can do. So you cannot experiment the crescendo, first of all. And you cannot experiment the true legato. It's impossible, because every piano player knows that when I am a piano player, right? So when I play legato somehow, I am pretending. I'm doing my best to make the audience have the feeling that I am playing legato. But a piano can never have a true legato as a violin has or as a flute has. Simply because you have the percussion of the first note, that note decays, and at a certain point you have the second impulse on the second note. But it really cannot be together. It really cannot be one into the other. So the string is another one. And so you cannot really have a legato. And as a conductor, you cannot practice that. You cannot have a distinction between separated sounds, maybe staccato sounds, and legato sounds. You have no graduation of, let's say, color, because you can have a violin and a viola and the color is different. You have, of course, the oboe and the clarinet and the color is different. And when you are a conductor and when you train to be a conductor, you have to learn how different instruments are different, and you have to learn how to merge them together. If you simply hear the sound of a piano, which is very equal, okay, in every octave from the lowest to the highest, well, you cannot do anything to change that balance. Even into a chord, think about a multiple notes chord, like, you know, 6, 8 notes chord, okay? If you play it on the piano, you have a chord, you have a general sound, and basically that's it. There's very few that you can do in that chord. But when you have a chord among strings and maybe some wind instruments, well, maybe there's a lack of the third, because the third is done by the viola, so you maybe have to ask viola to play a little louder and ask violoncello and someone else to play a little softer, just to balance the chord. Everything is important, and the conductor must understand these things. If you keep practicing on the piano, you will never understand these things. So piano is a good thing to understand some things, a part of the things that you need to conduct, but you cannot practice over and over and over with the piano, pretending to become a conductor. Because when you are in front of the orchestra and you have multiple colors, multiple attacks of the sound, the piano is always the same attack. The orchestra has dozens of different kinds of attack of the sound, and so on and on. So, what is the best way to practice? Well, try to find at least a trio or a quartet. You have 4 strings, 2 violins, violoncello. That's great. You can understand a world of things with a quartet. Maybe you can insert an oboe. You can have a quartet with the oboe, or a quintet with the oboe, or with a flute, and yet you have the wind part, and so you understand that they generally get in a little later than the strings, because the attack of the string is one and the attack of the winds is another one. And so you have a lot of things to improve and to understand what a conductor needs in front of an orchestra. Ear training is one of the basic things of a conductor. If you don't train your ears and your hearing and your understanding what is going on among all the instruments, you will never be a conductor. I mean, you can move your hands very, very well, you can be very precise in your gestures, but if you don't practice your understanding of the multiplicity that is going on before you, you will never be a conductor. You will be just someone, beating the tempo, and the orchestra does whatever. You don't know what to tell them. So this is the most important thing, besides, of course, a very precise gestures, but you need to have ear training. I would like to say also that if you can practice with amateurs, if you can practice with non-professional people, right? This is one of the best things you will ever do to train. Because when you train with professional players, they do it right even if you do it wrong. You can make a world of mistakes, but they are very good players, they know what to do, and they get it right. So you think that you are a good conductor because the result is good, but you are not learning. So when you have to do with amatorial players, they do mistakes. They need you to do everything. They need you to be very precise in your movements. They need you to give them the cues. They need you to balance the sound. They need basically everything. And if you miss something, they will do it wrong. So you have an immediate understanding that something went wrong. Okay, sometimes it's not your fault, sometimes it's their fault, but you can understand what is going on. If you have extremely good players, you do this, they do it right, and you say, okay, was I good? You will never get the answer. So amatorial players are a great way to improve and to learn what you really need to do. I would also like to say something about recordings. Many people say, never, never, ever listen to the recordings, never conduct with the recording, because it's evil. You cannot do that. Well, of course, a recording is something, dead. It doesn't change. So you can conduct like this, or you can conduct like this. Of course, the recording goes on and on without any change. So from this point of view, is not a great thing to learn. But I would like to say that, first of all, when you listen to a good recording, well, you can know the piece better and better. Just like you were able to go to rehearsal every day for a week or for a month, and then you know the piece better. So not many of us can go in theaters listening to rehearsal every day. That's a very few people, lucky enough to do that. So we have recordings. Luckily, we have recordings. And so it's a good thing in this sense. And also, you have the chance to listen to the different colors of the orchestra. Again, not many of us can hear the different instruments of the orchestra, daily or weekly at least, or monthly. Some people never listen to the instruments. So it's not the same thing, because an instrument live is one thing and an instrument on recording is another world. But at least you can, get used to those sounds. And this is another very good thing. So in my personal opinion, recordings must be used sometimes. They cannot be the gospel, okay? You cannot use the recording and that's it, and I will never do anything else because the recording is enough. Absolutely not. But a good recording can help you understanding many things, many important things of the piece. And last, I want to say something about competitions. I've done a few, and my sensation, my feeling is that when a competition is a serious competition, cannot have maybe a first round with the piano. There are a lot of competitions right now around the world, and you go for the first round, they have 80 people, 90 people. So, a lot of money, hotels, flights, and so on and on and on. Good for the economy, absolutely. But 80 people come there, then you go in front of a piano and they say, okay, let's do this movement here. And so you start conducting, so you can just show that you do a good movement with your hand, maybe a little crescendo or diminuendo or something like that, and that's it. Again, you cannot do much more. You cannot work on the sound, you cannot work on the ensemble. There's nothing you can do that a conductor should do. Just, okay, I know how to move my hand. Well, in a competition. So after this first round, what happens? 80 people coming for the first round. How many in the second round? 10. So you get 70 people out, and the jury is judging on conducting a piano. In my opinion, these are not serious competitions. They want to earn a lot of money, but they are not as serious as they should be. You send a curriculum, you send videos, you send materials. Today is very easy, and they have to decide 10 people out of those emails that they get. And so they can decide for 10 good people that come there and have their competition. But 80 people, 90 people, 100 people coming there, conducting 2 minutes with a piano, and then, okay, you're out. To me, this is not a good way to portray the importance of the conductor. Conductor is a most important figure in musical world, but using these systems, the conductor looks like the man waving his hands. I go in front of a mirror, I create fancy moves, and the audience say, wow, look at that guy, Look how good he is in moving and in expressing the strength, you know, of the music like this or like this. Wow, he's a wonderful conductor. Being a conductor is totally different, is completely apart from being a nice actor.